Remember racing home to watch America's greatest heroes fight Cobra?
Scarlet is still a prisoner, and we can't do anything about it. Until I remember where Cobra headquarters is.
G.I. Joe wasn't just toy commercials disguised as cartoons. It was absolutely insane behind the scenes.
G.I. Joe is the code name for America's daring, highly trained Special Mission Force.
Today, we're counting down 15 explosive facts about that battle for freedom that'll make you see knowing is half the battle in a whole new light. 15. Nobody could actually die. Standards and practices mandated 0 on-screen deaths, forcing writers to create elaborate parachute escapes and ejection seats for every vehicle. Planes exploded mid-air, and pilots magically appeared floating safely 50 times per season. The rule created inadvertent comedy, where tanks explode, but crews casually walk away unharmed.
This is all Destro's fault.
Writers called it the parachute clause, and mocked it by having characters parachute from motorcycles. One episode featured a parachute deploying underwater, which animators drew as requested, despite physics. The no-death rule made warfare completely consequence-free.
Don't open any champagne yet, scrap iron breath. You took a round, not the fight.
Teaching kids military violence was safe fun. G.I. Joe fought the most bloodless war in history because concerned parents couldn't handle cartoon casualties. 14. Destro's Scottish accent was revenge. Voice actor Arthur Burghardt gave Destro a Scottish accent specifically to mock Hasbro executive who'd insulted him.
Then lock on homing devices and eradicate New York, now! At once, do you hear?
The executive had made racist comments, assuming Burghardt couldn't sound educated as a black actor. Burghardt created the sophisticated Scottish arms dealer voice as a "fuck you" to prove his range. Directors loved it immediately, not knowing it was born from discrimination and spite. Burghardt never told anyone the accent's origin until a 2009 convention panel. Destro became G.I. Joe's classiest villain because his voice actor was proving a point about racism. Sometimes, the best revenge is excellence delivered in an accent they didn't expect. 13. The Mass Device miniseries was rejected 3 times. The 5-part Mass Device premiere was rejected by networks for being too sophisticated for children's programming. Executives wanted simpler good versus evil without the multi-episode storylines and complex plotting. Hasbro threatened to pull all advertising if networks didn't air it as written. The compromise was adding simplified narration, explaining everything twice for slower viewers. Focus groups of kids understood it perfectly, but adult executives thought children were stupid. The miniseries format revolutionized toy commercials into event television. G.I. Joe succeeded because Hasbro bullied networks into respecting children's intelligence more than network executives did. 12. Shipwreck was censored for being gay-coded. The character, Shipwreck, had homosexual mannerisms removed after conservative groups complained about his suspicious flamboyance.
She's your buddy?
This is Shipwreck, and he saved our necks, Lady J.
Original scripts featured Shipwreck with fashion sense, cooking skills, and emotional intelligence deemed too feminine. Voice director demanded Neil Ross butch up the performance to avoid San Francisco sailor stereotypes. 3 episodes were reanimated to make Shipwreck more stereotypically masculine in body language. The parrot Polly was added specifically to prove Shipwreck wasn't gay by giving him feminine companionship. Shipwreck's character was lobotomized to satisfy homophobic parent groups. Even cartoon sailors needed to perform heterosexuality for Reagan's America. 11. Zartan's skin color change was racial controversy. Zartan's color-changing skin caused massive internal debates about racial implications and blackface animation.
It must be G.I. Joe and Cobra. Very well.
The character was designed to become any race, but standards and practices flagged it as potentially racist imagery. Animators were given strict rules. Zartan could turn blue, green, or gray, but never darker brown tones. One episode showed him turning Indian and caused NAACP complaints, despite him being a villain. The shape-shifting terrorist accidentally became a conversation about racial identity in 1980s America. Hasbro maintained Zartan wasn't racial commentary, while quietly limiting his palette. The Swamp Ninja's greatest disguise was convincing people he wasn't about race at all. 10. The movie killed Duke to sell toys. G.I. Joe. The movie originally killed Duke permanently to force kids to buy newer characters. Hasbro's market research showed children wouldn't accept new heroes unless old ones were removed violently. Duke's death scene was animated, voiced, and scored before Transformers.
Make you proud. You'll see.
The movie's backlash changed everything. Optimus Prime's death caused such trauma that Hasbro panicked and ordered Duke's death changed to coma. Animators had 6 weeks to redub and reanimate Duke's fate, creating awkward "he's in a coma" scenes. The movie's ending makes no sense because it was emergency surgery on a corporate miscalculation. Duke survived because Optimus Prime died first, teaching toy companies that killing heroes kills sales. 9. Cobra Law was creative sabotage. Writer Buzz Dixon created Cobra Law as deliberately absurd to punish Hasbro for forcing movie toy tie-ins. The Snake People from Underground Civilization was Dixon mocking how ridiculous the toy mandates had become. Globulus was designed to be unmarketable, but Hasbro made toys anyway, missing the satire entirely. Dixon filled scripts with mocking references to executive stupidity that nobody caught. He later admitted Cobra Law was the worst idea I could pitch that they'd approve. The movie's bizarre mythology shift was a writer's middle finger to corporate interference. Sometimes you can't stop bad ideas, so you make them worse, hoping someone notices. 8. Serpentor's creation was psychological warfare. Serpentor existed because Hasbro psychologists said kids responded to alpha dominance more than incompetent comedy. Cobra Commander's bungling villainy tested poorly with boys who wanted powerful threats to justify hero worship. The 5-part Serpentor creation arc was essentially deposing the original villain for market research reasons. Chris Latta was told his character was too funny and needed replacing with someone threatening. Writers hated Serpentor, deliberately making him pompous and unlikable, but kids bought the toy anyway. Cobra Commander's humiliation was focus-grouped corporate restructuring disguised as storytelling. The Snake Emperor proved you could betray your own character if profits demanded it. 7. The PSAs were outsourced to a cult. The knowing is half the battle. PSAs were written by a controversial self-help organization with cult allegations. The group's life improvement philosophy was embedded in safety messages without Hasbro's knowledge initially. Several PSAs contain subliminal messaging promoting the organization's seminars and materials. Parents complained about children repeating phrases that were cult recruitment mantras. Hasbro quietly severed ties after investigative journalism exposed the connection in 1986. 23 PSAs were pulled from syndication and never aired again. G.I. Joe's educational content was briefly produced by people who believed in mind control through positive affirmations. 6. Lady J was the most censored character. Lady J underwent 47 design revisions to satisfy standards and practices concerns about sexualized female soldier imagery. Her original design was deemed pornographic by network censors despite being fully clothed. Every appearance required approval of her outfit, pose, and dialogue for appropriate femininity. Writers were told Lady J couldn't be too competent, or she'd emasculate male characters. She appeared in 40% fewer episodes than planned because animation kept getting rejected. Voice actress Mary McDonald Lewis fought constantly with directors who wanted her sexier but also maternal. Lady J proved even cartoon women couldn't escape 1980s sexism, even while saving America. 5. The toy deaths that changed episodes. Hasbro discontinued 23 character toys mid-season, forcing writers to retire them from the show immediately. Characters disappeared without explanation because their toys weren't selling well enough to justify animation costs. CoverGirl vanished for 31 episodes because her figure was a market failure. The brutal toy-to-screen pipeline meant poor sales equaled character assassination. Writers kept flexible scripts where characters could be swapped if toys underperformed during production. Several voice actors showed up for recording sessions only to learn their characters no longer existed. G.I. Joe's roster was controlled by quarterly sales reports, not creative vision. 4. The Hasbro executive who demanded realism. One Hasbro vice president demanded authentic military tactics be incorporated, hiring actual Pentagon consultants. The consultants watched episodes in horror, calling them dangerous misinformation about combat that could get people killed. Military advisors quit after Hasbro ignored every recommendation in favor of toy-selling action. The executive pushed for realistic warfare, while simultaneously mandating nobody could die or get injured. Pentagon officially requested Hasbro stop claiming any military authenticity in marketing materials. The consultants were paid $40,000 to provide expertise that was completely disregarded. G.I. Joe's real American hero realism was pure fantasy, funded by people who wanted it both ways. 3. The writer's cocaine problem. Head writer Ron Friedman's cocaine addiction during Season 2 created increasingly unhinged storylines and production chaos. Multiple scripts featured nonsensical plots that editors struggled to salvage into coherent episodes. Friedman would disappear for days, forcing other writers to complete episodes without knowing his plans. Cobra's creatures featured bizarre animal-human hybrids that producers called cocaine fever dreams. His firing mid-season created continuity disasters as new writers inherited his chaotic mythology. Friedman entered rehab in 1986, later admitting half of Season 2 was written while high. G.I. Joe's most insane storylines were fueled by a writer's drug problem that everyone ignored. 2. The ending that never aired. The planned series finale, World War III, was fully scripted but never produced after Hasbro killed the show suddenly. The finale would have featured nuclear weapons, civilian casualties, and permanent character deaths. Cobra Commander was supposed to die heroically saving the world, redeeming his character completely. The script's darkness was intentional, with writers finally allowed to show war's real consequences. Hasbro canceled production when toys sales collapsed, making the finale financially impossible. The scripts leaked online in 2004, showing G.I. Joe was supposed to end with genuine sacrifice and loss. The real American heroes never got their real ending because action figures stopped selling. 1. G.I. Joe was Pentagon propaganda. The entire show was partially funded through Pentagon's public relations budget to boost military recruitment among children. Department of Defense provided technical advisors, equipment references, and story approval for accurate military representation. The show's primary purpose was normalizing military service and making warfare seem exciting and honorable. Reagan administration officials praised G.I. Joe for preparing youth for necessary future conflicts. Military recruitment among 18-year-olds who'd watched the show was 40% higher than non-viewers. Congressional investigations in 1989 found inappropriate government involvement in children's programming. G.I. Joe wasn't just selling toys, it was selling military service to elementary schoolers through cartoon propaganda. Bonus: Yo Joe means something darker. The catchphrase, Yo Joe, was adapted from Marine Corps motivational chants used to dehumanize enemy combatants. Military consultants taught writers authentic cadences used in psychological conditioning during basic training. The phrase's repetition throughout episodes was deliberate psychological reinforcement, not just branding. Studies showed children who regularly said, Yo Joe, displayed increased aggression and hierarchical thinking. Child psychologists warned the show was using military indoctrination techniques on civilian children. Hasbro claimed it was just fun, while knowing its origins in combat conditioning. Every time you shouted Yo Joe, you were repeating a phrase designed to make killing easier. From illegal advertising to Pentagon propaganda, from cocaine-fueled scripts to cult-written PSAs, G.I. Joe wasn't just revolutionary toy marketing, it was barely controlled military-industrial complex disguised as Saturday morning fun. These real American heroes broke FCC rules, broke children's innocence, and taught us that knowing is half the battle. The other half is selling enough toys to justify the warfare. Until next time, remember, wars aren't won by heroes. They're won by whoever owns the merchandising rights. Yo Joe, and God bless capitalism.